It was very, very easy on Sunday for the Houston Texans in a 40-20 win over the Arizona Cardinals. I'll give you my biggest takeaways from the game. We'll take a look at some other things that went down in the league over the course of yesterday. And you get to hear from C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, and other guys that I talked to in the Texans locker room. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast on Monday, December 15th, 2025. Hit it! Get it on!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow up, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi! Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on TikTok at Gallant Says, X at Gallant Says Pod, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, and on Instagram at Sports Gallant. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe. It means a whole lot. It's available after the fact in podcast form. Search the Gallant Says podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. The Texans did exactly what they were supposed to the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. Kicked their ass. 40-20. This thing was over 5 minutes in. It was 17-0. You had C.J. Stroud hitting Nico Collins for a 59-yard touchdown. You had Jamal Hill forcing a fumble on the ensuing kickoff. Texans are stalled in the red zone, as they do very often, and have to settle for a field goal. Get the ball back, they score again. I mean, this one was over early, and that's what you were looking for. You wanted to win with style points against a team that, while it has more of a pulse than some of the other bottom feeders of the league, especially considering their starting quarterback is out, they're done. The Cardinals are done. This is a bad football team. So it was nice to have a relatively stress-free Sunday. C.J. Stroud was awesome yesterday. I'm a tough grader when it comes to Stroud. I think that we got to hold him to a higher standard if we believe him to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was 22 of 29, though, yesterday for 260 yards. And the degree of difficulty of some of the throws he was making was really impressive. He was threading some needles out there. His main target was Dalton Schultz, who had 8 catches for 76 yards. You had Nico Collins with 3 catches for 85, including a 57-yard catch and run on his first touch. This was one of those games where maybe statistically it's not the most impressive, but I thought Stroud was doing some really impressive things out there. If you can make throws like that, that separates you from Davis Mills, obviously, but a lot of other quarterbacks in this league who can't do the same thing. So that's why I always say, nitpick, and I give him some grades that are, like last week, a D. What was his completion percentage? The offense struggled to move the football. Yes, the offensive line stinks. Yes, you guys all hate Nick Caley. But this week, I'm giving him an A. This was a great game. He was making some really tough throws, and I think he is starting to embrace this offense. He doesn't need to go deep every single time, and if he can squeeze it in a tight window to a receiver, that receiver could catch the ball, take it upfield, and do something with it. So this was a great day for C.J. Stroud. I would like to see Jalen Noel get a little more involved on the offense. From a kick return perspective, damn, this was a really impressive game for him. 2 kick returns for 108 yards, one of them for 69, the other for 39 to open up the game and set up C.J. Stroud's second play of the drive. Touchdown throw to Nico Collins, who catches it in a tight window, breaks a tackle, off to the races. More Jalen Noel in the offense. Why not? Does things when he's got the ball in his hands. So I thought it was a brilliant day for C.J. Stroud, and I really liked what I saw out of the offense for the most part. They were 7 for 13 on third down. They punted the ball just once. But the red zone offense remains a problem. And it might be the fatal problem. I don't see how it gets better between now and the end of the season. You got a couple of games left. The Raiders, the Chargers, and the Colts. In those 3 games, is the Texans offense finally going to crack the code as to how to score touchdowns in the red zone? 6 red zone trips on Sunday, 3 touchdowns, and one of them was a happy little accident. I heard C.J. Stroud talking about it afterwards, and you'll hear from C.J. Stroud a little bit later on in the show. But there was some sort of miscommunication between he and the center. When I first saw it, I was thinking to myself, was that a trick play that just wasn't executed perfectly? Did the Texans have a direct snap underneath C.J. Stroud's Schmenzer and clackers to Woody Marks? Is Nick Haley getting really creative out there? I ask that because when I played high school football, we had a play that was drawn up for me, a wide receiver / running back, to line up like I was the quarterback, and our running back would line up behind me, and the play was designed to snap the ball under my undercarriage to the running back, who would run right while I would act like the snap was messed up, walk off to the left for a couple of steps, and then take off down the left sideline, and he was supposed to throw me a wheel route back to the other side of the field. We tried it in practice. We never did it in a game because I couldn't catch the pass. Kept on looking up in the sun. Kept on losing it. I'm so mad. I wanted to run that play for real life in a game because we executed the snap side of it all right. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe this is one of those fake plays. No. If you go back and watch the replay, you could tell C.J. Stroud's panicking out there. He's not that good of an actor. And then after the game, they were all talking about it and saying, yeah, that wasn't supposed to go down that way. That was one of your red zone touchdowns. You tried to tush push. You had your right tackle line up off sides. You've had more procedure penalties. It's one thing to get to the red zone. You're playing the best teams in the league. You got to get away with a touchdown. It can't be field goals every single time. And to go back to what I said a little bit earlier, why I'm not 100% sure it's going to get better, conversation I was having with Seth Payne, because I'm back with Sports Radio 610, and we were watching the game next to one another. And Seth brought up that since teams don't think the Texans can run in the red zone, they're going to drop a bunch of guys back in coverage. So when the Texans find themselves, as much as they often do, in a 1st and goal from the 9 or a 1st and goal from the 10 kind of situation, they're going to have to throw to get it into the end zone. And the defense can just flood the field with a lot of guys in coverage. So it's really difficult for anyone to make something happen. Really difficult in the passing game. Then add in that it feels like every other drive that they're in the red zone, someone makes some sort of procedural mistake, And you end up seeing a whole lot of Kaimi Fairbairn ultimately. I have an idea. It's a basic one. But how about the Texans force feed Nico Collins the ball in the red zone? Is that a good idea? Is that a smart play to give the ball to your best player in the red zone? 3 catches all game, 2 for a touchdown. One of them the big catch and run for 6. The other one, a throw in the red zone. Try to get Nico Collins the ball over the middle of the field. He is almost tight end sized. Why not do that? They did call a play to him, but it was a fade. Fades are terrible when you're that close to the end zone. I don't care how big your receiver is and how much you trust him. When you're in the red zone, why not run a high percentage play? Why not have Nico Collins run a slant? Who wants to hit Nico Collins over the middle running a slant? He is going to bounce defenders, specifically defensive backs, off of him. More Nico Collins in the red zone. Novel concept. Let's try it out. So they scored 40 points. I thought CJ Stroud was awesome. I gave him an A for yesterday's performance. But we're going to need to see the red zone offense take a step forward, and it might be too late at this point. As far as the defense, it was a solid game. You had a pair of 4th down stops. You had an end zone interception. There were some moments of shoddy tackling, but I thought for the most part, they were solid. Could have been better. Only 2 sacks. They did have an interception in the end zone. It was one of those plays, though, where if you watch it back, that was a bad throw by Jacoby Brissett. That should have been a touchdown throw. Credit to Kamari Lassiter, who made a nice play, trailing behind the receiver. That was a tough catch that he made. But 6 deflected passes for the Texans in this game. 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. I've seen better. They missed EJ Speed, who was out for this game. Henry To'o was flying all over the field. He had 10 total tackles. Azeez Al-Shaair, the same thing. But I think they could have done better. I think if we're grading the defense for yesterday, going up against a Cardinals team, I'll give them a B-. I should say C+, but I'm feeling generous this morning. They had a pair of 4th down stops in addition to that end zone interception. I think if there's any weakness for the Texans defensively, it's the same that it's been for the last couple of years. When they go up against an elite tight end, they don't really have an answer. Trey McBride was fantastic yesterday. Trey McBride had 12 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the best tight end in the league. That's the first I've seen him live. He's incredible. He's a really good player. He's great before the catch, getting open. He's great after the catch. Like, he puts his shoulder into people. He's tough. Dude's absolutely shredded. He's a great player. He's the Cardinals' best player. He's one of those guys that if you have him in fantasy football, especially for the fantasy football playoffs yesterday, you're feeling pretty good about yourselves because it's very hard to find a tight end like this from a production perspective. So if there's a weakness for this Texans defense, if there's a fatal flaw, I think it's that stopping tight ends like that, it's tough. Very tough. Other tidbits from the game. So after the game, Will Anderson didn't speak to the media. He seemed to be in a bad mood. For what it's worth, on the sidelines, I don't know if you guys saw him. He was having a conversation with D'Amico Ryans about something, and I think he got poked in the eye in the game. I don't 100% remember when. So hopefully he's okay, but he definitely got poked in the eye. I forget at what point it happened, but I think it was with the Texans in the red zone defensively. So hopefully he's okay. There was another interesting moment, because I didn't even talk about the great game Jawar Jordan had when he came in, 15 carries for 101 yards. After Woody Marks seemingly got hurt, Jordan was a practice squad elevation, and he's the first 100-yard rusher for the Texans all season. That's fucking wild. Absolutely wild. But it goes to show you how much they've just struggled to run the football this season. But he had a great game. Woody Marks, meanwhile, 7 carries for 30 yards with a fumble recovery touchdown, technically. I guess it doesn't count as a rush because it hit the ground. He picked it up and he walked it in. But after the game, he had a weird post. I don't know how many people saw this one. But he posted this to his Instagram story as caught by Nick Schwager. Lucky4._ just don't understand facepalm. So perhaps he was upset about not being put back in the game. That was a weird one. I don't know what that was all about. I saw some people asking about Derek Stingley after the game, his health. He had an oblique injury. I think not putting him back in the game might have been a reflection of this one was well in hand. Did you need to have Derek Stingley back out there? So I'm not stressing too much about this, but something to keep an eye on, especially at this point in the year. I'd like to see less Blake Fisher on the field. Blake Fisher, you got one job. You're the extra tackle. When you get on the field, I know some people are going to say, oh, he pointed at himself. No, dog. When you're on the field, lining up as a tight end, wearing an ineligible number, you got to tell the referee right away, I'm an eligible receiver. Right away. What are you waiting for? And then you're lining up off sides on the tush push, and very clearly lining up off sides and with his body lined up at a 45-degree angle. Come on, man. You're a second-round pick. It's frustrating enough that this is the only time that we get to see you. So when you get out there, do your job. Don't have procedural issues that shoot the Texans in the foot in the red zone. I'd like to see less Blake Fisher, but they're at a point right now where they need to have him as that extra tackle to run. Other takeaways from the game, really quick ones before you get to hear some of the stuff that Texans players said after the fact. And we get to some of your comments as well. From an attendance perspective, it wasn't great. Not the best. Let me show you how it looked. Basically looked like this. This was about 10 minutes before game time. Lot of empty seats. It was a chilly day outside. You would think that with it being chilly, that fans would maybe leave their tailgates early to come in. Unless they're just hanging out in the parking lot still at their tailgates. And maybe that's the reason why it was as empty as it was early on. But, yeah, not great. Not great. Did it get better as the game went along? It was better. And some people were saying, yeah, man, people are tailgating. That's why people don't come in early. Here's another picture of NRG Stadium yesterday. Definitely more fans. It's the Cardinals. And this is a little bit of a bandwagon sports town. No offense. Don't get mad at me. You know who you are. I accept you for who you are. But considering they had just beat the Chiefs and they beat the Colts the week before, and they've won now 6 in a row, 5 in a row going into the game, it would have been nice to see a little bit more attendance, a little bit more excitement, and it wasn't there. What else do we have coming out of this one? One last little tidbit. There's a 6-7 cam at NRG Stadium. For fuck's sake, guys. For fuck's sake. A 6-7 cam? Ugh, good God. Anyway, let's get to some of your comments. H-Town Rob asks, has to be better play calling, or we just need some big-time players to make big-time plays. I don't know if it's the play calling in the red zone necessarily. I think that they just have some real issues doing anything because no one respects their ability to run the football right now. Maybe they will coming out of this game. Ultimate Fan says, Cigar Sunday, my man. Let's go. It was just a plain assault. Yeah. From start to finish, it was a very impressive performance. I would like the red zone offense to be better, but I'm happy that CJ Stroud put together a game where it really feels like he is embracing what this offense is. Adrian Flo says the Texans should trade for Trey McBride. Yeah. Also says more playing time for Jawar Jordan. For sure. Jawar Jordan. It was a really impressive performance. I was stunned by how agile he is. I mean, that guy can turn on a dime. And I'm really happy that he was able to make the most of his opportunity. It was pretty interesting. You could tell he's a little nervous. He has all these cameras around him in the locker room afterwards, and he was rushing to be ready to talk to all of us. And I felt bad. I was like, hey, man. Everyone was saying, relax, dude. You know, take your time. And I'm so happy for him, man. I mean, he gets the game ball. You get 101 yards. He has that big 50-yard carry, and I asked him about it, and afterwards he said, yeah, you know, I'm not really in game shape, so I was a little tired in the middle of that play, but he certainly had a whole lot of confidence after that moment. That was a hell of a play. Hell of a play. Beat Cambridge. Beat Cambridge, are you a Shorecrest guy? Coach Hayford had the best crazy plays. Manatee, big man play. Yeah, man, I liked... That's my high school football coach. He had another play called WWF. It was something that we would do to just burn clock. And essentially, the play design was to intentionally take a safety, but run off as much clock as you could before the play happened. So your job was to just tackle and hold the person in front of you as the punter just runs around. And the idea was that the punt returner is going to have to make the punter run out the back of the end zone. Very fun play. Adrian Flo, the Colts did almost upset Seattle. Holy shit. Phillip Rivers. Impressive. Iron Man asks, is Jawar Jordan for real? Based off of all accounts after the game, this is something Jawar Jordan's been doing a lot of at practice. I think the thing that's working against him the most, and Aziz Al-Shair brought this up, is that he's just a smaller guy. Justin Singleton 2113 says, a lot of folks that were at the practices said Jordan was cooking, but they kept him on the practice squad because they wanted to justify the Nick Chubb pick up, even though he wasn't impressive in camp. Jordan definitely had his moments in training camp. there was a part of me that was wondering, were these moments coming because he was generally doing what he was doing against backups? But he looked good out there, man. Adrian Flo asks, what would it take to get McBride? The Cardinals would be stupid to trade Trey McBride. You can't do that. Reg says best O-line game and for pass and run blocking. Low bar, I guess, but for the most part, I agree with you. They kept C.J. Stroud upright. Titus Howard afterwards said, hey, when we do our job, we think C.J.'s the best quarterback in the game. Best O-line game. Yeah, I can roll with that. I'm not going to act like I study the film or anything. What else do we have? Let's take a look at what was said after the game. I did not actually get a chance to see what C.J. Stroud said or what D'Amico Ryan said. If you want to see the locker room sound that I collected yesterday, specifically to hear what Azeez Al-Shaair said, what Nico Collins said, what Titus Howard said, what Kamari Lassiter said, what Jawar Jordan said, Kalen Balak said, what Jalen Knowles said, what Jamal Hill said. Shout out to Jamal Hill with that forced fumble early on. Go check it out at my YouTube channel at Paul Gallant. It's a lot of video. I don't want to, just watch things that I did yesterday. I spent a little bit too much time after the show yesterday, after the game yesterday, putting all that audio together. And apologies for not doing a live stream after the game. I did not get home until 7:30. I was the second to last person in the media area to leave NRG Stadium. It's been a while since I've been back in that spot. Let's see what was said after the game. Here is D'Amico Ryan's post-game speech after the Texans' 40-20 win over the Arizona Cardinals.
Everybody feel great about that win? Hey, man, hey, really proud of you guys for just, coming out, handling business, doing exactly what we talked about. Everybody showed up. It took everybody, all right, to get this job done, and I'm proud of you guys. The one who jumped it off, taking the ball first, got Scoob. Great job. We had another takeaway. We had Kamari. Great job, Kamari. All right, back-to-back weeks, man. Great job by you. All right, then flipping over to the offense side of the ball. All right, CJ, outstanding day, man. Outstanding day by you. Way to lead us. All right, the entire game, way to lead us. All right, then we got in the end zone 2 times with Nico. Great job, Nick. Great job, Nick. Keep balling. Outstanding job. I got one game ball, though. One game ball, guys, all right? It goes to, this guy was his debut game. Just want to congratulate, man. Hey, most yards ever by a Texan in their debut game. Outstanding job. Hey, proud of you guys, man. Enjoy this one. Way to come out, take care of business. All right, still, we got a lot to improve on. Always check yourself. How much better can we be? All right, same thing next week. Whoever we got, let's go. Be on your details. Let's have a great week of preparation. Make sure we enjoy this one. It's always enjoy a win. They're always hard to come by, but I really love the way you guys went out and handled business today. Great job, baby. One time, Texas! Oh.
That was cool. That was really cool. Good for Jawar Jordan. You get that much attention all of a sudden after, fighting your way to just get on the field. I mean, he's 26. He's been in the league a couple seasons off and on the Texans practice squad, and in his debut, he goes for 101 yards. He's got some talent, and I hope he gets more opportunities. Hopefully it's with the Texans, but, I mean, he's definitely earned opportunities elsewhere, so we'll see what the roster looks like. No Nick Chubb. if Chubb's healthy, does Chubb get another look? Because clearly the Texans are focusing on trying to give Woody Marks the ball. And Marks seems like he was frustrated he didn't get to go back in the game. So I guess he's feeling okay. I think he spoke with some media members after the game. What else do we have coming out of yesterday? Let's go to the podium and see what CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans had to say after a 40-20 cruising of a victory for your Houston Texans.
All right, first and foremost is for me, give glory where glory is due, all praise, honor, and glory to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thankful, as always, for what he's allowed us to do, what he allows our team to do. Just continue to believe, continue to fight through any battle, any adversity we've faced, and continue to come out on top. So we're really proud of our guys, proud of our coaches, our team for coming out today, playing true complimentary football, handling this game the proper way, and finishing how we know how to finish.
What did you think about Jordan's performance and how he coached, how the running game really helped elevate you all on offense?
Jawar did an outstanding job for us, for the young man to come in and for his first game to have a debut like he had. I mean, of course, he broke a record, most yards as it goes again. Like, whenever your number is called, are you ready for that opportunity? And no one knows until you get that moment. And it's about you taking advantage of that moment and not looking back. And I thought Jawar handled it very well.
How rare is it for a guy to kind of go off in the practice squad and make that much of an impact the first time to elevate it and put on to the field and ask to make some plays?
Yeah, there are a ton of guys in this league that have made it, right, being undrafted, practice squad, and when they get their opportunity, like, they make the most of it and they don't look back. I mean, I just look at Aziz, and he was a guy who was, undrafted, right, and he found a way to break into the league and become a starter just when he was given the opportunity. Like, he did an outstanding job of it. And Jawar, just taking advantage of what you've been given. You never know how guys will respond, but we've seen flashes of it in practice. For him to come out and do it today, it was really, really cool to see, and really proud of him for just staying the course. It's easy to get discouraged. Like, when you're not getting called up, it's easy to get discouraged, but I think he's handled himself the right way every week, and he's taken advantage of it today.
D'Amico, could you please explain, I thought, at least from my perspective, maybe, and you had a closer view, when they said Blake did not report as eligible, because I thought I saw him walk up to Cleat.
Note on this one, D'Amico was pissed about this. And I'm during the game, this was brought up, everyone who was watching the game together from the Sports Radio 610 side of things. He was pissed during this moment, so I'm actually very curious about what he said here.
Do the motion, and they went through a whole play, and then also we come back and said number 57 did not report, and I'm sitting there trying to understand, when did he not report? Because I saw him go up to him. Could you explain, or what did Cleat tell you after the play?
Thank you for seeing that. Blake has done a great job of reporting every time that he's went into the game, and
you gotta be good at something, but I don't know. I think you gotta do more than just motion.
I think he does it every day in practice. He's looking back at me reporting. He's looking back when we do have a practice officials at the game in practice. He looks back at those guys. He makes sure he reports every single time. So not quite sure what happened there, but it's something we'll just look at and make sure we're on it every single time, to make sure we're looking to receive the referee in the eye, making sure we have the proper eye contact, and making sure he sees that we're reporting eligible.
D'Amico, can you talk about what's working for the offensive line? I mean, obviously you talk about Jordan, but it all starts up front. What are they doing right, and is this group just getting more comfortable being together?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the film, but from my vantage point, it looked like we were finishing blocks a little bit better today. Still always room to clean some things up, but for the most part, I thought we finished better. Therefore, we were able to have, I think, a better average in the run game today.
Maybe just ask you about Blake Fisher, but overall, we talked earlier in the week and in previous weeks about the offensive operation being cleaner and the sense of urgency. Just curious from your vantage point how that, and obviously you guys scored 40 points there was still a little bit left out there on in the red zone, but you guys obviously were productive. What did you see in terms of the operation and how clean you guys were today?
Our operation was really great today. CJ, starting with CJ, I thought he did a great job of managing the operation, pre-snap, in and out of the huddle. Like, he did an outstanding job today. It starts with him. It starts with Kaylee getting the calls in, going to CJ. I thought the communication was seamless. I thought the guys did a great job communicating, breaking the huddle, getting lined up. And that, that's low-hanging fruit for us, right? And we did a better job of improving that, and now we got to find a way to still finish. There's still some things that we left out there, not only on the offensive side, but on the defensive side as well. We left a lot of plays out there that we just have to keep playing up to our standard, right? And that's all. That's what we judge ourselves against, the standard. The standard is a standard. It doesn't change, so we'll continue to look at the tape intently to see where we can get better.
I'm glad that he said that's low-hanging fruit to just do the basics, because it is. It is low-hanging fruit. This is really basic stuff, especially at this point in the year. You should be smooth with your operation. And it's one thing to do it on the road in a hostile environment like Arrowhead Stadium versus doing it at home at NRG Stadium. But this is something that has been an all-season problem, and something I've liked recently out of D'Amico Ryans is that there's a little bit more, at least when speaking with us and to you, there's a little bit more, I think, self-awareness and acknowledgement that things can be better instead of that things were good. More D'Amico.
I do want to compliment our special teams for Jamal Hill, the way he came out on kickoff and really set the tone for our special teams unit. That's what we needed. We needed that big play. One of our keys to victory was taking the ball on special teams. He comes out and he does that. So it was great to see him make an impact play there, and also for our just blocking unit. All the guys did a great job of blocking, allowing Jay Noel to hit some explosive returns, something we've been missing a lot in our return game. We've been one guy away, and I felt like we did a great job of sustaining our blocks today. And when we do it the right way and we do it well, we have an explosive returner that can flip the field for us. So really proud of our special teams. Not only them, Tommy did an outstanding job punting the football, giving us a backed up op. We're able to go 3 and out there late in the game and capitalize with points. So it's beautiful to see it done the right way. So really proud of everybody.
And Frank Ross deserves credit for that, their special teams coordinator. And that's a guy that I think a couple of weeks ago, that Jaguars game just fucking rock bottom. And I figured, hey, if the Texans lose this game, maybe they're going to move on from somebody. And who do you move on from? You're going to move on from the first-year offensive coordinator. You're going to move on from the general manager in the middle of the year. What does that do? Or are you going to move on from the guy who had the rough day at the office, where the unit has not been itself for most of the season? But everyone likes Frank Ross, including myself, and they did a hell of a job on special teams yesterday. It wasn't just the Jamal Hill forced fumble or the 2 big Jalen Noel returns. They weren't on the field that much, and there was a blocked field goal, so they're going to have to look at the film as to why that field goal got blocked. But hell, you even had a punt down inside the 10. One time Tommy Townsend punted the ball. So it was a really good job by the special teams today. More from D'Amico Ryans after yesterday's win.
D'Amico, the play where Woody dove in for the touchdown, was that purposeful?
Of course. It was designed perfectly ran play. Right? We wanted to snap it right back to Woody. No. Yeah, we got to put that one in. No, it's sometimes the ball has to bounce your way a little bit there. A little miscue there with Jake and CJ, and Woody, very heads up play to be able to just get on the ball, press forward, and get in the end zone. Not how you draw it up, but sometimes when things are going your way, you need some plays like that to happen. And so I'm happy we were able to get on the ball, most importantly.
That was a funny moment. I actually got to text my high school football coach about this. that was a funny play. More for D'Amico.
Woody obviously didn't play in the second half. Was Was that more out of precaution, or is there a concern that y'all have to leave?
Yeah, Woody could have came back in the game, but for where he was, he got his ankle tweaked a little bit there early in the game. So for where he was, I felt like Jawar, and Dare were doing a really good job. So I wanted to just keep rolling with those guys and make sure Woody is good as we continue to go into the week.
Coach, you talked about the offense. It was a collective effort today. 140 on the ground, C.J. Stroud, no interception, offensive line, clean game from that unit. But 8 different receivers touched the ball today. C.J. did a good job of spreading the ball out, stepping up in the pocket to make plays, extending plays. Was that a part of the game plan this week to make sure everybody kind of touched the ball? Or from your view, what were some of the things that C.J. Stroud did today to help the offense score points?
And CJ played very clean, efficient game. I thought he did. What I'm most proud of him is I think he did a great job of just his decision making. When it comes to the plays, it's not that he's just looking or staring at one person. He's going through his progression the right way, and you'll see multiple guys catch the ball and make plays because he's not just eyeing in on one single target. He's going where the play dictates for him to go, what the coverage tells him. He's making the right decisions, and that's where he's grown. He's improved a lot, and I'm excited to see him. Like, since he's come back, each week he's gotten better. Each week, and so probably the best game he's had this year, right? Our entire offense done a great job protecting the ball. We have to continue to do that, protect the ball, and on defense, special teams, take the ball away, we get opportunities, and that's how you go out and win games.
I agree with that. I know you take a look at the statistics, and it's not the most impressive performance for CJ, but the only play by Stroud that I wasn't a fan of was that throwaway that he had towards the right sideline where it was very close to being intercepted. That is legitimately it. He didn't throw it far enough out of bounds. But, I mean, he had, I want to say 5 throws, and he is threading the needle. It is unbelievable what he was squeezing the football through. That's what separates him. He can put the football wherever he wants. I am trying to think off the top of my head, as far as ball placement, who's on Stroud's level as a quarterback? Because that's what separates him. And he's also strong. If you get an arm on him, he's probably going to be able to break free. He's got a little bit of mobility, but he has really good touch, and he also has the ability to zip it through a very tight window. Brian Vincent says C.J. Stroud's almost as good as Davis Mills. Davis Mills couldn't have done any of the shit that happened today. He couldn't. Yesterday, I guess. More from D'Amico Ryans after yesterday's easy 40-20 win.
D'Amico, I just wanted to ask you about your interior defensive linemen. I know your edge guys get a lot of attention. We've asked you about them before, but could you just talk about how they complement each other, just across the board, the interior guys with your outside guys, so everybody else knows?
Yeah, our defense doesn't go without our interior guys playing big for us. All right, starting with Rankins, Tommy, like they do an outstanding job. Rio steps in. Like we roll those guys a lot, try to keep them as fresh as possible, and they do a great job. We understand we have some difficult run schemes that we'll see, a lot of gap run schemes that people try to attack us with, and those guys do an outstanding job playing with awareness, but also still playing physical, right? Getting after it, condensing the pocket, allowing our edge rushers to do what they do, right, and really swarm on the edges. But we can't play great defense without those guys up front. So I thought, Coach Rod has done a great job, working with that entire D-line, and really hats off to the interior guys where it's grimy, it's tough on the inside. They don't get a lot of love, but they are the most important piece for us.
This was one of the more balanced performances on offense, and largely because the running game played really well. Do you feel like that may be the key to you all really unlocking the potential that y'all have on offense?
The run game is always the key for me. It's like we
we're able to execute it better today, but that's always the key going in. Like, you have to be able to run the football really well, no matter who you're playing against, no matter where you're playing. So to see it, like, show up today, hopefully the guys understand that's the formula. We just have to stick with it.
D'Amico, I know the balanced offense attack is good, but can you just talk about Nico Collins making another milestone, 30 in a row, 1,000 yards, what he means to this team and this offense?
That's a big playmaker. Nico is unstoppable. I mean, he does a great job. Anytime the
Unstoppable.
ball is in his vicinity, like I know he's some type of way he's coming down with the football. He a guy who doesn't say much, but he's had an outstanding year again. Like, and we're not even done. And then he's, eclipsed that 1,000-yard mark again. I was just proud of him for how he shows up, the consistency at which he operates with every single week, the joy that he brings and shows up with, the smile, the energy on his, like, it's unmatched. So you love to see a guy like that doing well. All right, he's not able to do that without CJ, him finding that connection. So they've done a really great job, and we got one call back on one of his biggest plays. I hate that for him, but he shows up no matter what the coverage is, no matter who he's up against. He's always going to show up big for us in any game.
6 wins in a row. What?
Nico's awesome, but you knew that already. More D'Amico.
Is just your overall thoughts on how you guys have been able to win 6 games in a row and position you guys yourself to be able to potentially win the AFC South if things keep going well?
Yeah, for me, I know you guys don't want to hear this. I didn't even know it was 6 in a row until you just told me.
What a flex.
No, it's that one game at a time mentality, man. I know nobody wants to hear it, but that's what I believe. That's all what we can control is one game at a time. Come out, handle business, right, each week. That's what we have to keep doing down the stretch here. We got to go out, handle business. I told our guys, you go out, handle business each week, then you're just putting yourself in a better spot. So you just keep going out, controlling what we can control, not really focused on, all right, what everyone else in the AFC is doing. Focus on the Texans. Focus on, stepping your game up and playing better. All right, thank you.
So that's D'Amico Ryans responding to a couple of comments on YouTube. Coffee Whiskey says CJ Stroud needs to do that against a good team. Yep, it would be nice to see him do that, but he is capable of doing it. We saw it out there yesterday. Make Gears Great Again says it was against a bad Cardinals defense, but I'm glad they were able to put that many points up because that's what you're supposed to do against bad teams, right? You are. Tay713, kind of crazy. You give someone like Jordan an opportunity to contribute, and he does extremely well, instead of giving these old guys the opportunity, like a Nick Chubb, like a Christian Kirk. I mean, I get it. I want to see more Jalen Nolan than Christian Kirk. I'm not going to hold past performances against Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is no longer what he used to be, but I do think that the offensive line had a really good game yesterday, helping open things up for Jawar Jordan. Jordan had a lot of his yards on one carry. Right? He did have a 50-yard run. Does he have explosiveness that other running backs on this team don't have? Maybe. He's certainly really agile and he can turn on a dime. I think that's what really jumped off the screen for him. And I also think at the same time, there's a size thing that's making the Texans look at him and wonder, all right, how much can we realistically play him? But right now, with the injuries, you're going to have to use Jawar Jordan a little bit more. Let's see what CJ Stroud had to say after the game, and then we will run through some quick thoughts about what went down in the NFL yesterday. Here is the quarterback of your Houston Texans, CJ Stroud.
CJ, can you just talk about, just a balanced attack that you guys had today to be able to run the ball, and then you got so many receivers involved, and then also just to follow up about Nico getting his 3rd season in a row with 1,000 yards?
Yeah, I think, that was a goal of ours, coming out the KC week, is just not leaving anything out there, in the run or pass game. And I think, in practice, we communicated a bunch, and then it went to the game, and it went over to the game, and we executed at a high level. So I think it goes back to our preparation. I thought we did a good job of that. And, I'm just super proud of Nico. It's my brother, man. I missed him on a couple out there. I owe him a couple more, but I'm just really proud of him and, the work he's put in on his body, on his game, and I think, he's one of the best in the league, and he's proven every year. So let's keep this streak going.
And let's get him the ball in the red zone.
CJ, how do you feel about how you guys are playing overall this long winning streak, and now y'all are in the thick of the playoff race?
Yeah, I think, like we started off a little rough, of course, and then, you want to be playing your best ball in December, going into January. And I think, since we're doing that, it was really good. But there's always things to improve on. And, we left a little bit out there, but I feel, like we got better than we did last week, better from the last week. And every week we just keep progressing. I think that's all we can do right now.
What do you think about Gerard and the game he had? And then I got a second question after that.
Yeah, man, Gerard's my dog, somebody, who I got to see come in and, put in work and been making plays for a long time at practice and camp, in preseason games. And, he gets a shot today, and I thought he took full advantage. He's a brother in Christ, and, I know he was relying on the Lord. And, I'm just super proud of him and, his ability, to make cuts and, set up blocks. I thought he did a great job, and he's super fast. So I tried to get out there on one of them and block for him, and he a little too fast for me. But I thought he did amazing today. I'm super proud of him.
These glasses. I mean, he doesn't need them. These are like stylish Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Brandon Keep It 109 says, I gave Stroud a D, but he made better throws last week. He made better throws on the run last week. But I thought some of the windows that Stroud fit the ball through, some of the needles he threaded, way more impressive than what he did against Kansas City. It's kind of self-explanatory why I gave him a low grade against the Chiefs. Take a look at the completion percentage. They had 5 3-and-outs in the second half. But he played great today. On Sunday. More CJ.
How important do you think it is for you all to sustain the type of run game that you all had today, for you all to be as successful as y'all want to be offensively?
Yeah, I think it's super important. We got to always, establish a line of scrimmage. That makes, the play action game and, the boot game a little easier, and then drawback pass as well. So, that's always a key to victory for us, is being able to run the ball, and it was one today, and I thought we did a good job of it.
CJ, I wanted to ask you a moment ago about Nico, but they caught y'all, speaking after they showed the graphic of him through the 3 years and the 1,000 yards. Just curious on if you could share a little bit of that moment. We saw you on the sideline celebrating, and then also the how clean the operation was today. Nico was here talking about that, and that's something that we talked about during the week. What did you think about how clean you guys operated today?
Yeah, I think, me and Neek, we've been together for 3 years now, and somebody who I've seen work, like I said before, and just, done a great job, being a leader. He stepped up captain this year. To see his work pay off a little bit, is amazing and it's dope. So super proud of him in that. We just, showing each other love and like we always do. But, and then, our operation, something that Coach challenged us on this week, and that starts with me. And so I just got to be able to communicate in the huddle the right way and, do the right things to get us in the right position. So, I'm really happy with how we did it today. Of course, got a couple penalties on it, so we got to figure that out. But I thought overall we got better in that area.
You mentioned how Lauren had always been making plays, but in practice, training camp, preseason, obviously he gets his first shot. When you see him start to make plays, he rips off that 50-yard run, what is it like watching that in the moment and being a part of that, watching that up close?
It's surreal, man. I think, for me, I'm not really surprised because I know how good he is, but I think even for him, like just to see it, you can see it in his eyes pregame, and I'm like, man, I'm here with you every play. Like, I got your back. Whatever you need, man, you let me know. And, he didn't really ask me any questions. He knew all the plays. He was prepared, making the right cuts, making the right reads, being good in pass protection. So I thought he stepped up big for us, man. And, I'm just super proud of him, So, he's been a baller. I think he's going to keep going.
CJ, one of the things
We'll see. We'll see if he gets more opportunities. 101 yards. He played great. He's going to have a good week of practice to follow it up because now they're going to Now they're going to say, all right, well, you did it. But if you want to keep playing, hey, you got to live up to the standard.
I asked Nico about was the offensive line. He said they finished blocks really well today. Can you just talk about the progression of the line that has really been coming together and from where you guys started, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, from, where we were in the beginning to now, we got our guys who we going to roll with, pretty much the rest of the season. And I think, they're doing a good job communicating. I think it starts with Jake, and Titus, those guys, being the leaders up there. And then Trent, and Ed and Tay, applying force and, being really good in the run game and pass protection. So, everything, starts with them. I think they've answered the bell, these last couple of games and done a really good job. And we're never perfect, but I just ask for them to give effort. And I think, it's amazing, the effort I see, me extending plays and then being the first ones down there, helping me up. I remember all those things. So really appreciative of those guys.
They're getting better, but how much better can they get in these last 3 games? Is this what they are? And specifically from the red zone operations side of things, is this what they are? We'll see. I think that is the fatal flaw.
Hey, CJ, I wonder if you could describe where you marked touchdown, the snap kind of went between your legs. It seemed to be some confusion. What happened there?
None yet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think, I probably said gun in the huddle or something. And, I went under center, and I should have been in the gun. And then the ball snapped, and, Jake still thought I was, under center. So, in the gun. So, I put that on me. I got to, be able to communicate. But,
good teammate. Shedeur Sanders, take notice.
At least we got in the zone.
When you get a throw like that to Nico early in the game and he houses it like that, obviously already go into the game pretty confident guy. What does that do for, to confidence and the swag going forward to kind of start the game like that? I think it was like the second play of the game.
Yeah, it's always big. That was a goal of ours, was to start fast. So, I thought, Nick did a great job of creating separation. Before the snap, I'm like, hey, man, stay alive right here. They a lot of situations in there, we knew where they were going man. So, he beat his man. I beat the help, and he, turned good into great.
Last 2, Christian and DJ.
What excites you most about how well you guys are playing right now and what you're able to do as a team?
I think, just 3 phases of football, we're playing together. I think, offensively, we're getting better every week, getting hot. So, we're getting hot at the right time. We're trending up, towards December, going into January. We got to just keep this going. It's going to be, one game at a time mentality, one play at a time mentality. Then we'll look up at the end of the year and see where we're at.
You mentioned earlier you guys started a little bit slow, but since then, obviously, you guys have been actually 9-2 since. From your perspective, what do you think is the biggest reason how you guys have been able to become one of the hottest teams in the league?
I think the finish, I think look back at those games, we were in the games, and there's always plays here and there that you want back. But I think at the end of the day, like when you got the ball or you need to stop, like we want to be the guys on the field. So, I think the ability that we're finishing with now, in these close games and, in games like this, take care of business when we need to. So for me, I think it's the finish, and us, playing hard every play all the way to the end and then, pulling out the dub.
Are the Texans the hottest team in the league? We'll probably talk about that tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, guys.
So that's C.J. Stroud. All right, let's run through everything that went down yesterday as quickly as we can in the National Football League. We'll get into more detail about it tomorrow. I spent a lot of time at NRG Stadium focusing on Texans-related stuff. Did not see as much football around the league as I'd like to. The Bills beat my Patriots 35-31. New England had a 21-0 lead in this game, and they blew it. Buffalo's 10-4. Patriots are 11-3 with 3 games left. New England plays Baltimore. Sunday Night Football. That game got flexed next week. The Chargers eliminated the Kansas City Chiefs 16-13. Going to be really interesting test for the Texans in a couple of weeks. This Chargers defense is really good. You saw what they did to the Eagles Monday night. Patrick Mahomes is feared to have torn his ACL. I don't know if that's official, but that's the expectation. I think it was, I got a push notification for that from ESPN.com. Kansas City's done, and now Mahomes has a similar recovery to Tom Brady, 8 to 9 years into his career. Rashee Rice got absolutely smoked by a defender again, so do yourself a favor, look that up. The Broncos are the 1 seed in the AFC after a 34-26 win over the Packers. It was a big day for Bo Nix, who I think had 4 touchdown passes. I know he had over 300 passing yards. Denver has clinched a playoff berth, and I suppose there is still a way for the Texans to get the 1 seed in the AFC, but I don't think that they're going to get it over Denver now because Denver's got the head-to-head tiebreaker over them. I think it would have to be some sort of 3-way tie scenario with a bunch of teams at 12-5. Micah Parsons for the Packers, meanwhile, feared to have torn his ACL. Seahawks 18, Colts 16. Phillip Rivers did not look bad. Right off of the street, starting quarterback for the Colts. Very curious as to what his recovery is going to be like in his mid-40s after so much time away from football. But the Colts had a pulse, and they almost won on the road in Seattle with Phillip Rivers under center. Not the best day at the office for Sam Darnold. Jaguars 48, Jets 20. The Jags are 10-4, getting closer and closer to an AFC South title. Might have been Trevor Lawrence's best game ever. He had 5 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown. Travis Etienne caught 3 passes. All of them were touchdowns. So that was an easy one for Jacksonville. The Jets stink. Rams 41, Lions 35. The Rams clinched a playoff berth, and it's looking tougher and tougher for the Lions to get into the playoffs. Rams and the Seahawks are going to play each other Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a hell of a game. Ravens 24, Bengals nothing. They had no pulse. And it feels like Zach Taylor is going to end up getting canned finally. Joe Burrow earlier in the week was wondering if it's fun to play football anymore. I guess Cincinnati also might get fined because the seats at their stadium were not shoveled all the way. Vikings 34, Cowboys 26. That was the Sunday Night Football game. The Cowboys are all but eliminated. They have about a 1% chance at making the playoffs. The Vikings already were. Bears 31, Browns 3. Not a great day for Shedeur Sanders. Very curious as to what the spin will be for this game. There's a quote that a lot of people are highlighting about Sanders saying, I think the truth about a drop by Jerry Jeudy that was intercepted. I'm going to have to watch it for myself, but a lot of backlash to that. 49ers 37, Titans 24. The 49ers are 10-4, just like the Bears are 10-4. NFC's got a lot of 10-win teams right now because you've also got the Rams and you've got the Seahawks with a big showdown coming up on Thursday. Eagles beat the Raiders 31-0. The Texans play the Raiders next Sunday. Very curious if the Texans can get a shutout, as someone asked a little bit earlier. Commanders 29, Giants 21. Who gives a shit? Commanders had lost 8 in a row. The Saints beat the Panthers 20-17. The Panthers continue to be the toughest team to figure out in the league. The Tyler Shuck era. It's resulting in wins for New Orleans, who might be hurting themselves by winning. But I don't believe in tanking in the National Football League. So there you go. That is going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in. If you haven't already, please like this video on YouTube. Smash that like button and subscribe. If you're a Twitcher, you can give me a follow at Gallant Says or a sub. It's very much appreciated. It's on X at Gallant Says Pod. I post clips of the show to that as well as I do to Instagram at Sports Gallant and on TikTok at Gallant Says. This was live on TikTok, but we're still having issues. Hopefully we can get those resolved. On Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports 2. And subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast wherever you get your podcasts if you like to listen more than you like to watch. Until tomorrow at 7 a.m., I am merely Paul Gallant. So long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
And have yourself